Dakyapi. Togaya Tikashla Wopla Waku. Lemia Chamatonia Hemia Chankpe Opia Matiwa. My dear relatives, before we say anything, we always thank the Creator first. My Lakota name is Bear Woman. I'm an original descendant of the Little Bighorn, the Wounded Knee Massacre, 1890, World War I, World War II, 1973 during the AIM occupation days, also known as the Wounded Knee occupation. My father was a Bureau of Indian Affairs employee who walked off his job. Okay, they asked me to move to the center. I always get bossed around. Got something really important to say. This is the original flag. The other flag don't mean shit. I mean shit. There's 2 constitutions, 4 bankruptcies, and currently I'm taking the United States to court at The Hague for failure to explain the bankruptcy of 1933 and their charter number, and genocide and poverty against Native American Indians. I was asked to pray today, and I wanted to, before I started to pray, talk about the water. We just got back from New York just today, and we made this event on a moment's notice. And we took a white family of 6, and the youngest is 17 months old, who has uranium in his system and will not live for 5 to 10 years, the whole entire family. And so oil in the water will kill. Please stand up for the water. It's very important.
Mini Wichoni!
Yes, Mini Wichoni. Agua es vida. Water is life. So as we gonna start this prayer, because I don't want to take up too much time, and I don't like getting bossed around a lot. And I don't want to start any wars, hey. Just gonna pray. Atewa kantanga tagashla wopla ushmalo omakiayo chin dagnishni mi swashni aschin hahepiki wopla chechina oyatiki yuha danwash the hecha. Mini Wichoni na unchi maka omakiayo chin dagnishni mi swashni na oyatiki yuha chantewash de gichuo. Atewa kantanga tagashla plamiolo wopla chechu na omakiayo le unchi na kaka na yuha danwash the hecha. Distila hokshila na wia ki yuha danwash the hecha. Atewa kantanga tagashla plamiolo wopla chechu. Ask you, Creator, to bless over all the people of the world. Bless over the earth, bless over the water, bless over our future generations, and help our people to live. Aho, Madakya, Oyase. Oh. Our people killed General Armstrong Custer and took this flag. And Donald Trump's executive orders don't mean nothing. You can tell him Joanne Spotted Bear said that. Oh, I was there. I went to jail from Scott Pruitt's office. And a week later, Donald Trump closed down the EPA. And then the next day, I got in full regalia, and I went to the inauguration. And they asked me on international TV if I was there for Donald Trump, and I said no, because he said all Indians were dead, and do I look dead? The day after that, I was at the Women's March and got to speak on international TV worldwide. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So thank you guys all for coming. This is the Eclipse Hate Rally. If that's not what you're here for, you're in the wrong class. We have art going on over there. If you want to sign our banner, that's eventually going to get dropped. and put your own personal mark on this. There should be, I haven't been over there in a while, but I think there's still poster boards over there if you want to make a sign. We also might have more poster boards on the way. So if you want to make some art, you got some kids want to make some art, over there in that corner is great. So just so you guys know, we're going to rally here starting 5 minutes ago, and then we're going to march probably around 7 o'clock. So we have an awesome program for you guys. But before we start, I just want you guys to give each other a hand for coming out. This is beautiful. So for those who don't know, my name is Gregory Mckelvey, and I am one of the organizers from Portland's Resistance. Portland's Resistance, if you don't know, was formed after the election. At first, just so that people had to know where the protests were going to be immediately, and then it took off like we couldn't believe, and we're like, dang, we got to form an organization. So now we have 80 or so Central Committee members, and any of you here can become a part of our Central Committee and make all the decisions for us. And then we have a seven-person body organizing committee that is a majority women of color that kind of takes up the daily operations of the organization. So give all of them a hand for putting this on. We also had like 150 people volunteering, donating supplies, donating stuff so we could get supplies for this rally. We have a bunch of people here keeping the rally safe. And so could we please give all the people that put in time for this rally a round of applause? Here, 1 second.
Real important before we really get started. Those of you who have been to Stand and Rock, watched Stand and Rock, or had anything to do with Stand and Rock, I'm here to tell you today, Dave Archambault is not our chief. He's just an employee, just like Donald Trump. He has no say over the 1851 Fort Laramie Treaty or any treaty. Full bloods, it was us, the government signed treaties with, not a half-breed. You are just an enrolled member. You have no say over our treaties. It's our land. It's our people that are getting murdered. It's our people who are in poverty. And it's our people the United States government hates above all nationalities around the world. We are here for you. We want you to be here for us. That government does not like you either. They used to call us Perry niggers. We are the first Perry niggers of this land. Don't take that personal. Take it with pride. We did. Aho.
So there has been, everybody here from Portland knows, there's been an overwhelming response to the 2 murders that took place here in Portland, committed by a known white supremacist. But I would ask, why is this story so compelling? Why are people so willing to forget about the 2 young POC women who were harassed? Were the martyrs who lost their lives not more concerned with their safety than that of their own? Would focusing on them rather than the deceased not be a great way to honor their memory? It is clear that those who stood up to defend the young women were heroes. In fact, everyone who stands up against white supremacy is a hero. Because it's dangerous. We saw that in Charlottesville. It's dangerous. Anyone who fights against fascism is doing with the understanding that they might lose their life. In fact, this was not even the first time that someone had stood up against Jeremy Christian. Antifa confronted Jeremy Christian in Montevilla and were called thugs for doing so. So if Christian would have stabbed one of them instead of the 2 heroes on the Max train, would we still refer to them as thugs? If we wait until a hero dies to applaud them for standing up to fascism, then we are discouraging such bravery. Don't wait until more anti-fascist activists die before we commend their sacrifice. Fascism is dangerous. What are we willing to do about it? The answer is currently very little. Some of us are willing to go to vigils. Some of us are willing to observe moments of silence. Others are even willing to donate to the victims' families. But very few of us are actually willing to make the sacrifice that those men made that day. But at what point did America go from celebrating D-Day and the storming of Normandy to condemning those who so much as punch a Nazi? Now, I want to be clear, I'm not advocating for violence. I'm advocating for taking a stand in the same manner that the heroes did on that fateful day on the MAX train. After all, they're the heroes for a reason. I'm advocating for being willing to put your body on the line, and yes, even your life, to defend the most vulnerable among us from fascism and white supremacy. And let me note that is far different than needless and unprovoked violence. That is self-defense. But even more importantly, it's community defense. Sometimes there's nobody there to see it. Sometimes the person you're standing up for won't even know it. So I have a message for all of us. First up, the Democrats, liberals, white moderates, progressives, anyone in between. If you're not sure this is you, ask yourselves, do I hate Donald Trump and his hateful rhetoric and his deplorable base? If the answer is yes, you're halfway there. Next round, do you also maybe despise the people amongst us that are wearing masks? Believe no one should wear a mask to a protest, or maybe you cry over broken windows and traffic and burned flags. If any of those apply, then you might be in this group. But what if Heather Heyer, the person who died in Charlottesville, wore a mask to a protest? What if Heather Heyer was someone you asked to leave a rally because they held a different ideology than you? What if Heather Heyer was someone you turned your back on because they were too radical for you? Or God forbid, what if she even broke a window? What if she chanted that all cops are bastards? What if you thought that she was to blame for Trump because she couldn't get behind Hillary Clinton? What if you spent more time on the internet complaining about her and people like her than you do talking about white supremacy, and then they killed her? How bad would you feel right now? Maybe you would be silent. Maybe you would feel guilt. I argue that most likely you would forget that you hated this person, join the chorus of people mourning her death, and call for action. At a minimum, I would hope that you would blame the murderer, not the victim. Well, guess what? The next Heather Heyer could be in your city. It could be the person wearing a mask at a protest that scares you so much. It could be the person you leave internet comments on local media about because you view them as destructive. You should treat everyone standing up against fascism in your area as if they are the next Heather Heyer. Don't wait until they're dead. Next up. So if that hits close to home, you're clear now. Next up, Antifa, right? The anarchists or Black Bloc, the people who are willing to put their lives on the line at every single rally. You might show up in all black, masked up. You burn your fair share of flags. You might even break a window or two. You chant things like all cops are bastards. And if there's one thing you can't stand, it's the damn liberals who just aren't radical enough. But what if Heather Heyer was that liberal? What if Heather Heyer was the person you hate because they have action agreements that you disagree with at their demonstrations? What if Heather Heyer was the person you just can't stand in the activist community because they said the wrong word one time? They turned on the wrong street at a protest, or they don't fight the cops enough? Would you be glad that one liberal is gone, or would you be mourning? My guess is you'd be mourning. Don't wait until it's too late. I know you risk your lives at every single action, but everyone who shows up to combat white supremacy is risking their lives. Even the liberals, it's dangerous for all of us. You claim to be defending the community. The liberals are the community. Defend them now, not just in death. Look, I'm not stupid. I understand that pacifism is dangerous in these times, but being one step less radical than you does not make someone a moderate. It makes them an individual. Everything exists in a spectrum. There is someone at the protest who is more radical than you, right? And there's someone at the protest that is less radical than you, and both of them might move in their ideological journey either towards you or in the other direction at any time. At one point, you were probably less radical than you are today. What if you met the past you today and discouraged them from being radicals because you called them a freaking liberal? I'm not gonna lie, about 3 years ago when I started going to protests, I thought wearing a mask to a protest was counterproductive. After continuing to meet these people, go to rallies, and hit the streets, one quickly sees the necessity of many of these more radical measures. However, if you would have listened to all the people who told me to get out because I wasn't pure enough, or because I had the wrong tactic, I would still be of that mindset. If you don't plan on somehow converting liberals to radical thought, who are you going to convert? Because it's not going to be the fascists. Are we just going to lose? Because simply we do not have the numbers now for radical revolution. So it's going to take either baby steps or massive conversion to radicalism. Both of these are going to take different tactics than trashing the damn liberals at every moment, right? We aren't going to convert Republicans or white supremacists. If we can agree on defending fascism and giving something up to accomplish that, then who cares if someone doesn't want to break windows? I also must mention those who hate other activists for personality reasons. A lot of people hate me because I'm an opportunist, a liberal, or a cop. There are also other reasons people hate me, but what if it was me who died, right? What if a white supremacist killed me like they killed Larnell Bruce? You wouldn't be happy. Would you be silent? Would you feel any guilt for hating me over petty stuff when we are literally in a war? Don't wait until it's too late. The activists you hate because they disagree with you on tactics, said the wrong thing, liked the wrong post, voted for the wrong person, or had a bad quote in the media. So basically, what I'm saying is I see so much of liberals blaming radicals and radicals blaming liberals and not enough focus on the actual damn murderers right up until the point where someone actually murders someone. And then we act like we've been on the same team the whole time, but we haven't. Until we are on the same team, we're going to keep dying. No one is dissecting if Heather Heyer was too liberal or too extreme. We just know she was on our side and they murdered her. No one cares if she was too peaceful or too rowdy. We just know that this is what happens when white supremacy and fascism take over. It could be the person next to you at the rally next, and you're going to regret if you hated them because they weren't enough like you. The right is so strong right now because they are united by hate, not policy. They can all agree that they at least hate Antifa, Democrats, liberals, and science. Everyone here. Can we at least agree on opposing white supremacy and unite around that? If we're going to defeat fascism in this country, it's going to take numbers, not absolute purity. The people next to you are your comrades. So with that, before we keep going, I need everybody to meet somebody next to you. If you didn't meet somebody today, you did it wrong.
Give it up for yourselves again for coming out today. It's so nice to see everyone's faces. My name is Alexis. I am a Portland native. My family has lived here for several generations, and I'm a descendant of Chief Kamkamli of the Chinook tribe. Thank you. In light of recent events, I wrote this piece that I would like to share with y'all. Excuse me, because I still have it on my phone, but if that's cool, I'm going to read it. I see no light in the torches you burn. I see no strength in the numbers you pride in. I see no patriotism. I see terrorism. While my family and friends are having to reach for the sky, I am stuck, not surprised or in awe or confused. This is how shit been since 1492. When my ancestors were almost wiped out, erased from this history, no mystery as to why they try again. Black and brown brothers and sisters continue to rise again and again as history repeats itself, history repeats itself, history repeats itself. I am tired of witnessing casualties in this epidemic called white supremacy. It's clear to me this ain't where we need to be. As I open my eyes and leave the womb, I bear witness to the abuse of my mother. The desecration of her being perplexed my understanding of our existence. As we trash her gardens and pollute her seas, we have guaranteed her destruction, guaranteed the extinction from the buffaloes to the rivers to the bees. I can see clearly the priorities of our race. The fast-paced construction in the hood and in sacred mountains, from gentrification to unkept treaties, whole foods and whole cities, colonization and pipelines, tunneling a black snake through tombs, and the whites in my eyes dilate as white folks annihilate ideologies across seas. Then it occurs to me, wounded wombs tied to wounded knees. This ain't no prophecy, this is real life. Racism alive and well, racism alive and well in our country. What's next? Well, that's what we decide. Portland police, I call on you to discontinue the divide. Why protect terrorists while we struggle to survive? Because KKK live as police and police as the same. Historical, not rhetorical, so the capitalism, patriarchal, white supremacists remain and activists detain. We a target, we a bargain, it's a shame. We put our bodies on the line, we conjure spirits to align. We are forced to be confined, so we push and we push until all of the corrupt are ready to resign. See, I don't feel safe in my home. Don't feel safe on land that was once my own. 4 generations of Portland natives, so my strength has only grown. So in the words of Assata Shakur, please join me and repeat after me. It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to win.
It is our duty to win.
We must love each other and support each other.
We must love each other and support each other.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
Thank you.
And I'm with Portland's Resistance. I invited a few of my sisters to speak tonight to tell us their thoughts on the strength of our community facing what is an obvious and intense threat. And so I'm just going to give the mic right to them. First, my sister Karasala Pale-Patton, a political science and communication student, former debater and aspiring writer. Karasala.
Talofa, it's nice to see everybody out here. So I just got a little bit to talk about. The story of people of color in Oregon is the story of resilience. All around us, we're reminded of how white this state is and how our presence here itself is an act of rebellion. In 1843, the Oregon Territory banned Black immigrants. In 1856, in conjunction with the federal government, Oregon forced coastal tribes to march 234 miles up the coast, and yet they still remain. In 1859, Oregon becomes the first state to enter the Union while having laws on the books forbidding Black Americans to live here. In 1902, we have Alonzo Tucker, who was the first recorded lynching in Oregon. The papers wrote, all the pleading in the world would not have saved him. In 1924, Timothy Petty was also lynched. This is the second recording lynching in Oregon. And we have to know that there was much more here that was ignored. It's not until 1945 did the government show an interest in seeing how oppressed African Americans and people of color were in our state. And surprise, surprise, yes, the law treats us unjustly and unequally. It's not just death that has plagued our state, but more subtle forms of oppression. From forced migration, from floods, from the Vanport flood to the building of I-5 and the hospital, our communities have continually been pushed out. But this speech is not about that. It isn't about how our government has had a relationship with white nationalists and the Klans since the founding of this state. It isn't about how the deaths of white people protecting people of color from white supremacists gets more attention than Black boys like Linnell Bruce being run down in the streets by white supremacists. No. What I want to remind everyone here is that even with all this violence and death, we are still here. The 1843 ban could not stop us. When in 1859, Oregon essentially became a sundown state, we didn't leave. Despite the threats of being whipped and forced enslavement and forced work, we stayed. We didn't leave when our homes were flooded or when we were pushed out of our neighborhood. This story of us is that of a people of resilience, that we weather all storms and we fight for a better tomorrow. If there is one thing that concerns white nationalists and white supremacists, it's despite all of their effort, in spite of all the laws and social manipulation, we are still here. I don't want you to get this wrong. I'm not saying that all of this will pass, But what I'm saying is that freedom is a constant struggle, and a struggle that people of color in this state have been doing since its inception. That we aren't going to stop simply because it's getting hard. So I'm going to leave you with some lines from a poem called Black Joy by Javon Johnson. You cannot kill blackness. Too much of it is wrapped in an unshakable joy. And ain't that why they think we're magic in the first place? That despite all reasons not to, we still smile, we still laugh, we still love, we still black. And that is the story of people of color in Oregon, that we are resilient and we will always be here.
Keep clapping. Tanya Dickinson, my new friend, is a poet, teacher, and ongoing student. Raised in Montana, educated in Montana, has a little bit of a different perspective on the West than a lot of folks living in Portland. She's devoted to education and social and economic justice. She's also a poet focusing on family, community, race, nature, politics, and many other deep thoughts. Tanya?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Karasala, for the beautiful words and the beautiful poem. Our communities have a beautiful and rich history, both in Portland and nationally. We have been here and we are still here. Our communities, though not perfect, have a history of working together with the shared goal of equality and justice. This is who we were, this is who we are, and this is who we will continue to be. So when Trump responded to what happened in Charlottesville by saying, we condemn this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides, I had to disagree. The insistence to be free from violence and threats and demanding that our country allow for our full equality and humanity is not hate. We have experienced our fair share of hate here in Portland. The hate crime committed on the Max line impacted so many of us in ways we have yet to see the full effects of. I personally heard and witnessed many accounts of youth of color refusing to attend school out of fear because they had to take the Max to get there. But our communities have persisted. A big part of that persistence is because marginalized communities came together to take intersectional action. We need to lift each other up and be allies for one another. Each of us needs to find how and where we can do the most good and seek that out. When we work together to create visibility for one another, that creates collective support for our work and our communities. We need to support progressive individuals in politics like Joanne Hardesty, former legislator, current head of NAACP Portland, and candidate for Portland City Council. Hardesty has been fighting and continues to fight for representation for low-income individuals, people of color, and she works to create community safety with our police department. We need to support groups like the community action group Don't Shoot Portland that are fighting systemic discrimination through direct action as well as legislative and policy work. We need to support groups like the Pacific Northwest Stands with Standing Rock, who are working to support the Standing Rock camp for nonviolent action. We need to support organizations like the Latino Network, who are working to empower Latino youth, families, and communities. We We need to support the Critical Educators Collective, started by graduate students at Lewis and Clark College that works to provide a liberated, justice-based education system. And we need to support the Immigration and Counseling Service, a nonprofit immigration law firm that provides free and confidential consultations. The point is, you don't have to feel stuck or alone in this city, because you are not alone. We are tired of fighting for our basic humanity. What we are witnessing is divide and terrorize, and it cannot stand. But where there is a no, there has to be a yes. What we can do is create a movement that is dedicated to an intersectional collective of ideas that defeats the racism, bigotry, and xenophobia currently holding office.
Yes.
Institutional memories are longer than individual memories, which is why we must continue to act and struggle for justice that starts today and continues into every tomorrow. Thank you.
Yes. Please scoot in. Scoot down. Come down. Come close. There are people back that can't hear or see at this moment. Very organized. Doing good. We want to open the mic for a few minutes and invite other folks to come and take 1 minute, exactly 1 minute or less, to share your thoughts on the strength of the community, the various communities of color in Portland and in Oregon. Would you like to come and speak? Raise your hand or come up front, please. Are you setting a timer for yourself? Oh, okay. Anyone else? Come down, get ready.
I'm going to read to you a quote from Martin Luther King that he said in 1967. Hate begets hate. Violence begets violence. Toughness begets a greater toughness. We must meet the forces of hate with the power of love. Our aim must never be to defeat or humiliate the white man, but to win his friendship and understanding. The ultimate weakness of violence is that it is a descending spiral, begetting the very thing it seeks to destroy. Instead of diminishing evil, it multiplies it. Through violence, you may murder the liar, but you cannot murder the lie, nor establish the truth. Through violence, you may murder the hater, but you do not murder hate. In fact, violence merely increases hate. Returning violence for violence multiplies violence, adding deeper darkness to a night already devoid of stars. Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that.
Open mic, let's go. My sisters and brothers, I can see you out there. We need to hear from you. Anyone back here? Hi. People of color to the front, please. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Yoli Cruz Guadalupe Flores and I am from Oregon, and as usual I see a lot of white faces, and to you all white people I want to encourage you and give you the strength that I have to you spiritually so that you all can stand up and interrupt these conversations and interrupt loud white people who are taking too much space and speaking hurtfully of the immigrant population, the refugee population, the Muslim population, the homeless population. I know you all hear it because I hear it. And I don't want to be the focus of white people staring at me, waiting for me to interrupt this loud person. It's not my job. It's not my job, and I'm here to tell you that it is your job. And that's all. Thank you.
Couple more, one more. Come on. There she is. Sir.
Hi, my name is Marvin Ross. I've been in Portland since 1981. And I've only had like 3 incidents where I would call a nigger. About 2 or 3 weeks I was called that word. And it was very hurtful. More so because I noticed how it affected the people around me when I was called a nigger. I see so much hurt in other people. I'm like, wow, this have affected a lot of people. You know, so hate hurts everyone. Not just the person that's directed at. It hurts the community. It hurts the nation, people. And it's time for us all to come together to really stand against hate. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Rena Miller. I'm a licensed clinical social worker in private practice. I came here from Plainfield, New Jersey via Boston. And I have to say, this is the most racist city I've lived in my entire life. No, I have never had shopping while black experiences, not in Seattle, not in Boston, not in New Jersey, in Portland. And I'm saying this because I just want folks to know there are very subtle little pains that really grow. Not just for me. I have clients who come to me. One came from DC the other day to me, and she finds herself dealing with major subtleties, even just going into a store and somebody says, oh, she remembers everything the woman bought the last time she was there. And she says, why is people remembering exactly what I bought? And little things like that. And I'm just gonna say, I walked into REI in 2013 before Black Lives Mattered, and I wanted to return a $4 pair of socks without a receipt. They were perfectly packaged. The woman looked me up and down, and she said, you could have just walked off the street and pulled it off the shelf. And she said, yeah, no, you look straight-laced and everything. I walked out and scratched my head and came back in and went East Coast with her and asked her a direct question. Yeah. And I said to her, excuse me, had I been white, would you have said the same thing to me? No. And, it took another 2 years before I met, I walked on the street and I saw 5 black women at a table. I said, this is the most beautiful table I've seen in my life. And these women, they were talking about everything I've been writing poetry about, etc. And one woman, I hear her REI story, whoops. She walked into REI with her biracial boyfriend, his black father, and white mother. Right after somebody had an uncomfortable situation with a black person, an employee. Suddenly in she walks, bum ba dum bum, with more blackness. They called the cops. Okay? They called the cops because somebody felt uncomfortable. These are small things. Whoops, she was another social worker. She made a big stink of it. I got she got a big reparation anyway. I could go on, but I won't. But I just want you to know these subtle things. They make you scratch your head. They made me wonder, what's happening? What am I doing wrong in the city? Well, one of the things I'm doing wrong is I speak and I express my opinion. That's not really asked for in this city. But we're all here together. Let's speak. Let's learn to be East Coast. Woo!
Sisters being attacked in this country, and this isn't just a Facebook check-in, okay? We are under attack. Minorities, people of color, transgendered individuals, you need to act now. I didn't make this sign for nothing. I made a Tina Fey reference on the back so everybody would whip their cameras out and then I would flip it. All right? So what are you going to do? You're going to be more active, right? Vocal. Don't be afraid. You have your bunker. I'm sure you have your little bunkers in your chats that you go back and you're like, oh my God, this just happened to me. You have your bunkers. You have your loved ones around you. It's a fight that we need to fight now. Get off your ass. Have a wonderful weekend.
Keep clapping. Thank everyone for sharing. It's hard to let things out sometimes, and pretty much all of y'all are strangers to each other, right? Until later today when we'll be something different. We'll be a movement. Or maybe we already are. I want to invite my friend Mara Jid to the mic to lead us in a bit of a memorial service. So again, squeeze in. If there's space next to you, please squeeze close. Let some more people come down.
Yeah. Hi y'all. My name is Mara Jade Summers. I am a openly transgender, mixed-race gay woman. I live here in Portland. My organizing focuses around environmental issues and community defense in the Pacific Northwest. In a moment, I am going to lead y'all in a reading of names of those who have had their lives stolen by white supremacy. Some of the ways in which those lives were stolen include the attempted genocide of Native people by Europeans, settlers, and colonists, as well as the U.S. government. It includes immigration detention centers. There's a lot of things. It includes chattel slavery, Jim Crow, the mass incarceration that's perpetuated again by the United States government, colonists, settlers, and Europeans. Before I do that, I would like us all to share a moment of silence in honor of those stolen lives, as well as in honor of the continued resistance against white supremacy. So if y'all just want to bow your heads about a minute, just think about why we're all here and why we're going to continue to come out and fight. Thank you. As I read each individual name, I'm going to ask that everyone here repeat those names back to me at once. We're going to do that for every name. Emmett Till.
Emmett Till.
Charlena Siobhan Lyles.
Charlena Siobhan Lyles.
Daniel Covarrubias.
Daniel Covarrubias.
Mulugeta Sarah.
Mulugeta Sarah.
Corin Gaines.
Corin Gaines.
Trayvon Martin.
Trayvon Martin.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Sandra Bland. John T. Williams. Eric Garner. Alexia Christian. T.T. Dangerfield. Jackie Slayers. Darius Smith. Michael Brown. Janetta Riley. Michelle Cousseau. Pearlie Golden. Gabriela Navarez. Yvette Smith. Von Derrick Myers Jr. Sitting Bull. Tamir Rice. The people who are under siege for months at Standing Rock. Sierra McKelvey. Miriam Carey. Ricky Best. Jordan Edwards. Raymond Akrit. Kayla Moore. Shelley Frey. Kim Livingston. Melissa Williams. Mahevist Good Blanket. Alicia Thomas. Chantel Davis. Talassine Mirden Namake Mechi. Sharmel Edwards. Rakaya Boyd. Charisse Francis. Ayana Stanley Jones. Tarika Wilson. Laquan McDonald. Heather Hare. Catherine Johnston. Kendra James. Alberta Spruill. Christina Tahuaha. Margaret Laverne Mitchell. Latanya Haggerty. Taisha Miller. Danette Daniels. Frankie Ann Perkins. Sonji Taylor. Eleanor Bumpers. Sarah Lee Circlebear. Maya Hall. Larnell Bruce. Megan Hockaday. Quinice Hayes. Jojo Stryker. Mike Mitchell. L'Oreal Sinjean. Corey Kanosh. Janisha Fonville. Jamie Lee Wounded Arrow. Natasha McKenna. Sam DeBow. Tanisha Anderson. Alan Locke. Malcolm X. Abwan Diag. Ora Rosser. Shanique Proctor. Larry Kobuk. Philando Castillo. Rexdale Henry. No, there's another page wrong. Give me a second. Maybe there's not. There's many more names that are on that list. If I was to stand here and say every one of them, as y'all could imagine, we'd be here for a very long time. Remember these names. Don't forget them. Definitely come out and continue to fight alongside those that are more vulnerable than you, so we don't end up on this list as well. I'd like to invite anyone that would like to say the name of someone else that I have not read to come up now and say a few words as well, if you will. If you want to just raise your hand and I can kind of just pick you out and we can form a line over here, kind of thing. Come on, y'all.
Dan Curtis.
Continue to repeat these names, y'all.
Terrell Johnson. Keaton Otis.
James Jahar Perez. Todd Littlebull.
Alexina Goldie Davis.
Jesse Hernandez.
Christopher Kalanji.
Fred Hampton. Bodie Phelps.
James Chassie. Daryl Hood, killed by LAPD. Madison Jensen. George Jackson. Alfonso Sterling. Orlando Castillo. Anthony Hill. Oscar Grant.
Darius Stewart.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marie, and I'm here because I'm an indigenous native to this land, not just in the United States, but this land that we're standing on. Oregon Territory before it was a territory. 7 generations ago, my grandfather was the leader of our people, running our longhouse and carrying the ceremonies, the songs, and our traditional ways. Trying to do what we do and just pass that on to the next generation. And when our tribes were affiliated with other enemy tribes, you know, 2 of them had converted over to different religions that weren't ours originally. And in turn, they arrested my grandfather, excommunicated him, beat him up, cut his braids off, and destroyed all the drums that were being used during the ceremony that they interrupted to arrest him. My grandfather, in order to keep this tradition and this culture alive in our area, had to be excommunicated, befriend a priest, a Catholic priest, who agreed to return home with him in order to give him protection by telling them, as long as you attend my church, listen to my sermons, I will tell them that it's okay for you to practice your ways. I will give you a way to keep your culture alive, because he saw my grandfather as a human being, not as someone else, not as his enemy. He didn't see our cultures as evil. He didn't see our ways as worshiping the devil. He looked past the hate that he was taught, and he gave us a way to hold on to something that we almost lost. I tell you this story because my grandfather was forced into that church. My family was forced into these ways. But 7 generations down the road, I live only for my culture. I let go of that Catholic faith. I no longer follow that. Not because I hate it, but because that's not what's in my heart. That's not who I am. Everyone has the right to feel and think whatever they want, so long as what you feel and think does not interrupt my ability to feed myself, my children. That does not threaten my safety or that of my children. You can feel whatever way you want, as long as you are open, honest about it, and keep your hands off of me and those around me. And I'm not saying you have to like me. I don't like everybody. I don't like everything. But I do not go out of my way to try to cause other one's misery. Because quite frankly, we do not have a left or a right or an up or a down or a better or worse. We are in a circle. And we have to ask ourselves every day, what do we want to come back to us? Because every choice we make every day, we'll have to revisit someday. We'll have to answer for it. We'll have to say why we did what we did or didn't do. What are you going to say when that day comes, when somebody asks you, what did you do when this country was falling apart? When corruption and propaganda was everywhere? When people were acting out in violence? What are you going to say that you did? Are you going to say you carried on with your life? You're going to be like the millions of people that are still out there going on about their daily lives, hoping things just get better. You have to ask yourself, how much am I doing to make sure that my children, my family, my friends can walk down that road safe, can be able to eat without worrying about the food they're eating, poisoning them, to be able to drink water without worrying about that water having contaminants we don't know about. It's like me, my family suffer from cancer because of arsenic exposure in our water. My history is full of pain.
I want to thank Portland Resistance for setting this up and having this youth-driven energy to be able to present it. This is our future. This is exactly how it goes down. You guys want to take something away from this today? Know that this is the center of our movement, and you're a part of it. Know this. There's an action plan here. Mary Jade went over a bunch of names earlier. And I was yelling them as much as I could. And I was looking around. And I was feeling it with some people. I'm like, man, that's a lot of names. And you keep going. And it doesn't end. It gets a little uncomfortable. Man, that's a lot of names. That piece of discomfort that you guys had, that we all had, because we don't like knowing that there's so many deaths involved. That discomfort you go through was good practice, because that level of discomfort is something you're going to have to replicate. It was spoken of earlier where you gotta have the conversations. We can come here, we can listen to all these beautiful messages, these great words, these motivating forces, and be happy that we have community leaders over here, like Greg, who speaks up and loud to the whole community and beyond. But it's only to wake everybody up here. And then you act, take it, walk away with it, and do something with it. And once you start doing something with it, you start becoming that person where during Thanksgiving dinner, they're not asking you, so what have you been up to? No, you're being the one that skipped, right? That's where you want to be. That's who you are, that's why you're here. You're here, you've learned, you've listened, you're taking this away with you. This hate is affecting everybody. We have a polarized community 2 weeks before the stabbings happened in Eugene with our Muslim community, where a man barged inside a mosque through the women and children side and threatened to kill people, women and children present, primarily in front of them. This community is scarred. During the month of Ramadan, this community was scared to even go to its mosque. But we have amongst us people who have acted and protected us, like Veterans for Peace. I just saw him over here somewhere. Raise your hands if you're from Veterans for Peace. Thank you. Thank you. For 30 days and 30 nights, they stood outside the mosque, protecting the community. And they're doing the same thing for anyone and everyone. And that's what we want to do as well. As Muslims, we want to be able to step up, stand out. 91% increase in hate crimes first half of this year compared to the same time last year. But that's not just us, right? I mean, this is now. We're trying to address this. To address this, the most basic way to address hate, when you see a weed, you just pull it out from up top, or you dig in. Get it from the root, brother said right there. To the fruit, that's right. From the root to the fruit. So, we have to listen and legislate for our First Nation. We have to listen and legislate for Black lives. Your politicians that are up there sitting in these shiny buildings are winning by thin margins and are not telling you this. So have these uncomfortable conversations with your families and friends about hate, but also about how to vote. Know who your district congressmen and women are, who your local senators are, and how by a thin margin that these guys are winning. I'm with an organization, so I can't really speak of a name or tell you who to vote for, but a name was mentioned earlier. Woo! I didn't say it. I'm going to go with Donald Trump on that. I didn't say it. But please, act. Look at your local politics. Know how much power you wield amongst your family, your friends, your relatives, cousins, everyone. Thank you.
Hi, I'm a stray Russian Jew, and I just wanted to bring up in Virginia, Charlottesville, what happened. I don't know if anybody heard of it. I'm sure people heard about it. Charlottesville, there was Temple Beth that people were celebrating when all of the craziness was going on, and the group of people, families, or parents, kids, children, people were, thanks. Now, God, I can hear. In Charlottesville, there was a Temple Beth celebrating Jewish celebrations while the craziness was going on in the streets with whatever's going on. But anyhow, the people, they got stuck in the temple because they were afraid it wasn't safe for them to exit, so they had to exit out the back. And it was a terrifying experience for us Jews. Anyhow, so I'm like a lost stray Russian Jew. And anyhow, so I'm here to celebrate and support my fellow Jews. My family came over from Russia, and I lost a lot of them over there. But anyhow, so here, Russian Jews, lost Russian Jews.
Hi, my name is Ori. I'm 17, so this is kind of the first time I've ever done something like this. I go to school here in downtown Portland, and last night I finally sat down and I watched the footage of Charlottesville. I don't know if I watched all of it, but I definitely watched a lot. And even though the video was just 20 minutes long, it took me about an hour to finish it because I had to pause every few minutes and remind myself to breathe. I don't think I've ever felt more afraid in my life. Not when there was a swastika painted on the bus stop by my house and it didn't go down for a week. Not when there was a swastika on my synagogue. And not when I walked down the street and somebody called me a Jap from very far away. But I've never felt more afraid in my life than when I heard the chants and the screams from the Nazis and white nationalists calling for the ethnic cleansing of my people, of black people, and other people who do not fit the same white sameness. I've never felt so unwelcome and hated in this beautiful country that I call my home. The words that are still ringing in my ears that were said at the march are, "Jews will not replace us." And I have something to say about that. To all the Nazis, white nationalists, white supremacists, and Ku Klux Klan members, you're correct. We, the Jewish people, will never replace you. We do not hate the way you hate. We do not pray for the death of our enemies. We do not have enemies in the way that you do. We do not scream and yell chants for destruction and murder. We, the Jews, as a religion, as an ethnic group, as a people, we will never replace you. We are a people who come together through the belief of acceptance. We believe that you must embrace the different, comfort the alien, and provide assistance to those less fortunate than us. We are not a people of hatred. We always have been, and we always will be a people built on the foundation of love. So to the Nazis, white nationalists, white supremacists, and Ku Klux Klan members, I say to you this: we, the Jewish people, will never replace you. You are alone in your hatred. I love this country. I know that when we come together and love each other to our fullest ability, we create incredible change. We need to emancipate ourselves from the outdated and racist foundations that the United States forged for itself. We need to free our country and let it be the most loving it can be, because I have seen the love that we have for each other, and I have seen what it can do. Hatred blinds us and keeps us from progress. Hatred is not the answer. Love is always the answer. Thank you.
Thank all of you. It's time to stand up and stretch. Now, I want to invite everyone to get the blood